That's the weird thing about covered calls and cash secured puts. When everybody else is having a big party and making money hand over fist, you're not making as much. But when everybody else is losing money, you're not losing as much. And when you're in the sweet spot, which is more often the case, you're outperforming them.
Hello, Wealth Builders. You're listening to Wealth Building with Options. Here's your host, Dan Passarelli.
Hey, Wealth Building family. Welcome to episode 39, Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire. But before we jump in today, let's talk about how you can get the most out of the Wealth Building with Options community. Help grow the Wealth Building with Options community by subscribing to it in your favorite podcast app. If you're already a listener, you can support the show with a paid subscription. When you do, you'll get lots of great stuff. You'll get video extra podcast episodes so you can get hands-on video training on things we talk about in the episodes. Subscriber-only posts where I drill down on a stock, event, or trading opportunity and share trade ideas. You'll get all my covered call and cash secured put trades that I'm making in my real brokerage account. You'll get access to our monthly online Ask Me Anything webinar, and you'll get our unusual options activity alerts on options income trades and much more. And the best part is, your paid subscription helps keep this show on the air. All you have to do to become a paid subscriber and get all that and even some more stuff I didn't mention is go to wealthbuildingpodcast.com. That's wealthbuildingpodcast.com and choose your subscription level. We all lie to ourselves. That's just part of being human. It's the human condition. Man, I am so smart. Man, I am so good at this. Oh, this is great. I am so good looking. I don't know, whatever it is you lie to yourself about. I mean, me personally, before I go out, I have a habit of, I get dressed and we've got a full length mirror in the bedroom. So I'm all ready to go, and I look and I figure, okay, hey, I look pretty good, right? And that is usually followed by Kathleen coming into the room and saying, your shirt and pants don't match. What are you doing? You're not going to wear those shoes, are you? And then, so we all lie to ourselves. If you remember back to episode 36, that was just a few episodes ago, Crossing the Red Dragon, we talked about how people, a lot of times, you don't even know what you think, which sounds really weird if you haven't listened to that episode, but it's true and it's scientifically proven. How are you supposed to not lie to yourself? And kind of what matters is less what you tell yourself, what you tell others, but your actions, right? It's always about your actions. That is what matters. So let's start out talking in this episode about cash secured puts. Now you might be asking yourself, wait, isn't this liar, liar, pants on fire? What does cash secured puts have to do with lies? Well, it has a lot to do with lies. It has a lot to do with traders lying to themselves. So I've been teaching options for, I guess, 20 years now. 20 years just teaching options. I was in options for years and years before that. But I started in 2005. I think it was 2005. Yeah, 2005. And I've taught a lot of classes on cash secured puts and covered calls. And I've listened to other people teach a lot of classes on cash secured puts and covered calls. You do something for 10,000 hours and you become an expert in it. I'm an expert on explaining cash secured puts on covered calls and how other people explain it and the whole explaining of it process. Here's how it tends to go. There's always this nomenclature, these words that anybody who's explaining it, they all kind of use the same words. It goes something like this. Okay, a cash secured put is when you sell a put and you sell it at a strike price, but you have to be okay buying the stock if the stock is below the strike price at expiration. You have to be okay buying the stock. All right, it makes sense, right? And if you have ever heard somebody talk about or read a book on cash secured puts, if you ever had it explained to you, somebody said basically those exact words. I know it to be true. So here's what happens in real life. The person who learned to sell cash secured puts and they're about to do it, they look at all the other criteria that the person talked about and they say, yeah, I would be totally okay getting assigned if the stock falls and is below my strike price at expiration. Like, let's put some numbers on it here, just like a simple example. Let's say a stock is at $95 and you sell the 90 strike put. That's like, what, a little over 5% out of the money, right? And there's probably support there at $90 a share. You look at it and you say, oh, yeah. If it goes down below 90, I mean, that much lower in this short period of time, whatever it is, week, 2, 3, 4, whatever. Yeah. I mean, there's support there. And I kind of like this stock anyway. I mean, it would be a good deal buying it at 90. Yeah, I would totally be okay buying that stock at 90. And then here's what happens. The stock goes to 80, right? And it gaps overnight. There's some weird news that comes out. Happens every now and then, right? And then you know what that person who just got done telling, not me, not you, but themselves, oh yeah, I would totally be okay buying this stock at 90. You know what happens when they're buying that stock at 90 and it's actually trading 80 now? They are throwing temper tantrums, throwing stuff around the room. How could this happen? Those market makers are out to get me. The whole thing is rigged. Rigged, I tell you. How could this happen? This is terrible. I don't want to own this stock at 90. That's what they do. They do it. And I'm going to guess that there's a lot of you out there listening to this who are smiling because you have done this. Sure, I have done this. You know, it's been a long time since I made my first few cash secured put trades. But gosh, I think even, you know, after a decade of doing it, I probably did that once or twice too. Investors, they just lie to themselves. They think it's not going to go down below 90. You know, that's what they think. It's like, I don't even know what it's like. I remember listening to, man, I'm kind of a nerd, you know, and I listen to history podcasts. That's my drug of choice when it comes to podcasts. And there's a great one out there, A History of Rome. I think it's called A History of Rome. Yeah, History of Rome, I think. And the host was talking about, what was it? I think it was Caligula. I don't want to mess this up, but yeah, I'll just start rumors. What's Caligula going to do? Get me? No, he's dead. But he was on it, like, had contracted some sort of disease or something, was really, really sick. And there were some senators saying, oh, you know, if to the gods, Jupiter, if you would only spare his life, I would gladly lay down my own. And then he got better. And if you know anything about some of these late Julian Claudio dynasty types, they're freaking crazy. And so he heard about that and he went to the senators and he's like, hey, thanks a lot for praying to the gods and saying you'd lay down your life instead. So, yeah, how do you want to do it? so, so, just because you think something is not going to happen doesn't mean you're okay with it. That's covered calls and cash secured puts. That's how it works. And when it comes to cash secured puts, and we're going to do the same thing for covered calls in a minute, but when it comes to cash secured puts, I mean, if the stock goes down a little, it's okay. I mean, if it doesn't go down through the strike price, presuming we're talking about an out of the money cash secured put, it's okay. Doesn't matter. Heck, even if it goes down through the strike and comes back up, it's okay. And honestly, even if it goes down to the strike and even a little through, I mean, as long as it doesn't go through the break even, which again is what? How do you calculate the break even? Okay. I'm going to pause here. I'll make sure Eric, our editor, doesn't edit out the pause. Okay. All right. That's enough dead air. We calculate the break even for a cash secured put by taking the strike price minus the premium received. So if it goes down below the strike price, but not by more than the premium received, you actually outperform. You're in a great spot. You're in that sweet spot we've talked about, which is what? Strike price minus option premium, right? And on the top side of that, the indifference point is the stock price at the time you do it, plus the option premium. It's probably a pretty good percentage move where that sweet spot is, where you outperform. Of course, if it falls down below that break even, that's where you start getting, oh no, this is terrible. And especially if your plan was to skate, meaning not to get assigned. And just because an option's in the money doesn't mean you're going to get assigned. You can always close it, take a loss probably, but you take your loss and just move on to the next trade or roll it or whatever. But that's where it is where people say, oh, this is terrible, where they get caught in the lie they told themselves. Covered calls, same thing, right? You own some shares of stock. You think to yourself, hey, you know what? This stock's not really going anywhere. I mean, what if I sell these calls? I mean, look how far out of the money they are. And I can get a pretty decent premium for them. Let's just go back to another example. I'll try to use a little different one here. Stock's at $125 a share. I can sell the 135 calls. I mean, they're out of the money by like 8% a month from now. And I can get, make up a number here, $1.80. That's like 1.5%. I mean, that makes my annualized return. Let's see if it's a month call. We'll just call that 18%. If I skate, that's a great annualized return. And there's a whole bunch of resistance up there. This stock's probably never going to get there. I would be totally fine if I got assigned and sold my stock there. Because, I mean, hey, it's a profit anyway, right? I mean, I'd make money on the stock. Even if I lose money on the call, I'd make way more on the stock than I lose on the call. And I own this stock from a couple of years ago when it was trading at 60. I would totally be fine selling this stock at 135. And then you know what happens, don't you? Yeah, you know what happens because that's what the show's about, right? It goes up to 150 and you are throwing a temper tantrum, throwing stuff around the room, saying expletives that you didn't even know were in your vocabulary. Your spouse is like, geez, like being really quiet and hoping that you calm down and don't break anything. Yeah, that's what happens though. Did you make money? Yeah, but you left money on the table. How could I do that? God, these market makers are ripping me off. It's somebody else's fault. What's somebody else's fault? It's not a fault. A good thing just happened. That's the weird thing about covered calls and cash secured puts. When everybody else is having a big party and making money hand over fist, you're not making as much. But when everybody else is losing money, you're not losing as much. And when you're in the sweet spot, which is more often the case, you're outperforming them. So you have to accept two things if you're going to do this wheel thing. The first thing is with covered calls, if stocks are going up and they go up and they outperform, or cash secured puts for that matter, right? You're leaving money on the table either way if there's big moves upward, and you're going to underperform everybody else, and it feels terrible. But it shouldn't feel terrible. It doesn't have to. And when the bad thing happens and the market goes down a lot and you're losing money, okay, it stinks. But this is part of a long-term investing strategy, and you were going to be in it anyway. You made the decision to be long it anyway. You're losing less than somebody who just owned the stock. You are literally outperforming. Yes, you can lose money and outperform because you lose less money. You're in a good situation. And so it's not really even about lying to yourself. It's about just being in the wrong frame of mind. And maybe some of that has to do with assignment. Maybe because you owned that stock from 60 from 5 years ago, you don't want to pay the taxes on it. Well, you sold the call. You said you would be okay with it. Were you not okay with it? Because then it's not a lying to yourself problem. It's definitely not a market problem. The market's going to do whatever it does. If you think you're controlling the market, you're nutso. You know what the problem is? Objective problem, right? I mean, if you definitely did not want to get assigned, that's a terrible scenario. No, I can't sell this stock. It's too low of a tax basis. I'm going to get creamed on taxes. Well, your objective was wrong. You actually had the skate objective, not the trade objective, and you weren't okay with it. And if you're not okay with it, you have two choices. One, don't do it. Or two, get out of the trade and take your lumps and move on. And you still outperformed in some regard, probably, right? You either made money and underperformed, or you didn't make money and outperformed. So the question now is, how do you not lie to yourself? Because it's in our DNA. A couple nights ago, we were out to dinner, the family, and our kids moved out. They lived together. I think I mentioned that on the show. And so it was one of those more rare and rare times where our whole family got to go out. Me and Kathleen and the two kids and my son's girlfriend. And somehow or another, the subject of being a good driver came up. And my daughter, who is wise beyond her years, said something to the effect of, yeah, you know what? I don't think any of us in the family are good drivers. And she's probably right. Now, my son said, well, I mean, out of all of us, I think I'm the best driver in the family. And my response to that was, well, I don't think that that's a very data driven argument because since they moved out not too long ago, we still get their mail that comes to our house. And so when we do see them, we just have a pack of mail that we've collected over the last couple of weeks or month or whatever. Hopefully it's not a bill so they're not late, but we take the pile of mail and we bring it to them when we see them. So we had the pile of mail with us. And one of those items of mail that was addressed to my son, the self-proclaimed best driver in the house, was a red light camera ticket. There is the data. We want to make decisions and statements based on data, not thoughts, definitely not hopes, not feelings, not wants. Wants are emotional. Us humans, we make a lot of decisions based on emotion. We do what we're wired to do. Most of your decision making is done in your amygdala, part of your brain that handles emotions. Wants, they're emotional. Even though you make decisions emotionally, whether you know it or not, they're not always good decisions. Numbers are logical. Emotions, right brain. Numbers, logic, left brain. And prefrontal cortex. It's not really just left and right. There's lots of different parts of your brain that do lots of different things. But this is one way anyway, that we stop lying to ourselves. We use data-driven decisions. We use black and white numbers. Well, I don't think the stock's going to go down below support at 90, but I know it's not guaranteed. What percentage of the time do I think support is violated? Now, unless you did a study, you're not going to know the answer to that question. I don't know offhand what the answer to that question is. But I know it's not 100% or 0%. I know it's a thing that happens sometimes. Support is violated sometimes. So you start asking yourself questions like that, you're going to be able to visualize it a little bit more. And you're going to be able to think about it from a more left brain, logical perspective. You're going to be able to think about it more with that human prefrontal cortex that does all these logical thinking things. And I said an important word there a second ago. I said visualize. It's important to visualize your trading, your self-trading, the trade. It's important to visualize every part of it. It's important to visualize how you do it. There is scientific evidence that if you like play a sport, right? Let's say you play basketball. Well, clearly, the more you practice, the better you get. Duh. Exercise, eat right, get sleep. All these things are going to make you better. But you know one thing they don't tell you that is scientifically proven? If you watch someone who is excellent at this thing, like in this case, being a Chicagoan here, I'll say Michael Jordan. You watch Michael Jordan playing basketball. You can be on the couch in your joggers, all bundled up, laying down, sprawled out. You watch Michael Jordan playing basketball. and you will get better at playing basketball. Not necessarily because you're thinking about it and taking notes and remember, oh, yeah, next time I'm going to do it just a little bit more like this. Your brain just picks up on it and you get better at it. It's true. And that's how it goes with trading. And that's a way where, as we're going through this process of visualizing things already, visualizing what ifs, right? We also visualize ourselves doing the analysis, which logically is going to make sure that you don't miss any steps in the analysis. Logically hitting that button with confidence to enter into the trade. Picture yourself managing it when it goes against you, when it goes your way, when it's just going. How am I managing it? Now, this visualization, though I think it'll make you a better trader, and I think there's a lot of science behind that statement, the one thing it doesn't do is change how the market reacts. It's not like magic. Like they talk about manifesting. And this, I'm going to make the statement that this is manifesting, but manifesting doesn't change the market. Doesn't change what those numbers on the screen do or what the news that comes out or the support line that's broken. It doesn't change any of that. But it does change how you react to it and how you feel when you react to it. With confidence, where you own the situation and you're making clear, logical decisions, versus with emotional knee-jerk reactions and fear. You manifest it because things aren't always going to go your way. And if they don't go your way and you do a good job handling that, you're going to lose a lot less. And when they do go your way and you do a good job handling, you're going to make more. It's just how it works. There was a study done in Parma, Italy, of all places. It was in like the 80s or 90s, I think, 1980s or 90s. And there were these scientists, and they had a macaque monkey all wired up with EEG stuff. That's like the wires with the cotton balls stuck to your head, and they must have shaved its head or something. Hearts and all over, all your neurons and stuff. And they had him wired up, and one of the interns or something comes in the room, and he's got a gelato, and he's eating a gelato cone, ice cream cone. And the person who's sitting around looking at the EEG chart or whatever, it's like, wait a minute, this monkey's brain just changed. Actually, there's a part of this monkey's brain that are firing on all cylinders here. Wait a minute, that's the part of the brain that would happen if the monkey was eating an ice cream cone, the left arm going up to the mouth and the tongue and salivating. What the heck? They're called mirror neurons. And that's why those things, watching Michael Jordan, that's why those things actually scientifically work. You're just designed to mimic, to monkey, if you will, with these mirror neurons. So, yeah, I think you do manifest things. So, how do we out-human our humanness? Unhuman our humanness? Dehuman our humanness? No, dehumanize. That sounds terrible, right? How do we get over this lying to ourselves that we all do? Well, I suggest two things. One, use data-driven logic in all your decisions, especially when you're doing that internal dialogue self-talk. And two, visualize the entire trade process from starting to executing to managing. And managing is visualizing what happens if this goes wrong. What is the worst case scenario? And what's the likelihood of that worst case scenario playing out? What's just a bad case scenario? What's the likelihood of that playing out? What's the good case scenario, the great case scenario? We visualize the whole thing. It's already happened in our brain. And we're just, I mean, it's not like the mirror neurons, but it's kind of the same thing, right? We've already seen it because we've seen ourselves doing it in our brains. And we know what to do. And we don't get mad if the thing that we didn't want to have happen, because we know that's going to happen sometimes, and it's okay. Because covered calls and cash secured puts are designed to outperform the market overall. And that, friends, is powerful. And that about wraps it up for this show. But before you go, please make sure that you're subscribed on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or whatever it may be. And if you'd be so kind as to leave a comment, I would surely appreciate it. I would love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, so that I can help make this show better and serve you as well as I can. Until next time, invest excellently.
Options involve risk and are not suitable for all investors. Before buying or selling an option, read characteristics and risks of standardized options. A link is provided in the show notes. To learn more about your host, Dan Passarelli, please visit markettaker.com.